Well, speaking to us from Sydney this morning, a man who has clocked up the air miles this week, it must be said, because I saw him, I think, a day ago at the actual air show proper here in Dubai. We are speaking to our aviation expert on call, Nick Humphrey, lawyer and partner at Norton White. Nick, it's lovely to speak to you. Good morning.
Morning, Brandy.
End of the
lovely
air
to
show.
be back in Sydney finally.
If you gloat, Tom's pushing the buttons. You might get cut off.
1 for 30, Tom. 1 for 30.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, well aware of that.
So, let's award some prizes. Let's actually have a bit of a competition, and let's see who won the air show, as it were. Let's start with, the actual leaderboard, the medal tally, as it were. Was it Airbus's air show or was it Boeing's?
Well, it started out as Boeing's with the 777X announcements from Emirates. Then Airbus came through and surprised everyone with the FlyDubai order. FlyDubai being a Boeing operator since inception. And through the week, I think it was Boeing on top. Then Air Europa had a massive order of 40 A350s. And I think it ended up just slightly ahead by Boeing. So if it was a horse race, I think Boeing by the nose.
Here's the thing. There were some U-turns, as you've identified, in all of that. Emirates with its big Boeing order, day one, got people talking about, Airbus, oh, not sure about this model, that model. And then a smaller Airbus order later in the week. FlyDubai, that big Airbus order, that was the departure from Boeing. That was all of the headlines. And then going back with a Boeing order. What do you read into that from those two airlines? EK banking on Boeing despite the delays that it has seen, but it's still got Airbus in the mix. Is it a hedge? What's the strategy?
Well, it is diversification. I think that's something that's a key. I guess with Emirates, firstly on the 777X, they're showing confidence in what they must have seen at Boeing, because they've been sending people out there and they've been watching that program. And this aircraft isn't scheduled to arrive until 2027, a few years too late. Whereas then Emirates chose not to put any orders in for the A350-1000, which shows it doesn't have as much confidence in that. I think they mentioned about the engines at the moment, they weren't satisfied. So that's the wide bodies. And then the narrow bodies with FlyDubai, historically, look, they had some problems with the 737 MAX, which is really the backbone of what their order is. They've diversified, and there's been some engine issues on the Airbus side as well. So I think that the key thing here for airlines is to have diversified strategy, given the volume of aircraft they're going to have. If you're a smaller airline, you can't afford that to have too many aircraft programs. But when you are growing the way these two big dominant Dubai carriers are doing, is diversification is key.
One of the things that Tom and I were discussing earlier, speaking of those two carriers, FlyDubai bringing its premium cabin in, a 3-class airline now, or will be, with its Dreamliners. What does that mean for the relationship between Emirates and FlyDubai?
Yes, it's an interesting relationship because FlyDubai was developed out of, in many respects, there were a number of personnel that had come across from Emirates, and I guess they've got the same shareholder. And they have complemented each other over time, and there are code shares and the networks interact. But ultimately, when the Dreamliner arrives at FlyDubai, which is they're going to have the premium cabin, there's going to have to be competition because there's only so many destinations that they can place these aircraft, and particularly on long haul, the consumer will be looking at which, what's the better option if they're comparable classes and, the price point. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in those discussions between the two Dubai carriers. And I don't, suggest I know what's going on behind closed doors in those discussions, if there are any.
I thought, and when we spoke at the beginning of the week, we talked about whether or not this would be an AI air show in the way that ADIPEC was an AI energy show. The tech that really stood out for me, though, was the big Wi-Fi deals. Starlink for Emirates and FlyDubai, Viasat for Etihad, people talking about fast, free or cheaper Wi-Fi. What does that mean for, let's be honest, Nick, what does that mean for us?
Yeah, for us, I was in contact with an old colleague at Emirates and I said, sadly, on my 14-hour flight, I will be online. I won't be able to switch off anymore. And I think it's just getting the Starlink has really shown the stability of what that Wi-Fi connection does. And it's a selling product for, it's not just the business traveler anymore. It's the, those, teens, the 20-somethings who want to be online all the time. It's interesting because those are really important deals, because I think in this connected age, that seems to be a vital thing for people doing when they're long haul. We need to be online. I like to get offline, but unfortunately, we can't escape it anymore.
20 seconds. Is fast free Wi-Fi going to become the norm, or is it just going to be the well-heeled Gulf Airlines?
Well, I wouldn't call anything we get for free on an aircraft free. It's always factored into the price. So there'll be those other airlines which won't have it in the price, and then they'll add it as a charge. But, it gets us one way or the other. But it is a selling point.
No such thing as a free lunch connection. Nick Humphrey, partner at Norton White, thank you so much for speaking to us. It's been lovely to see you at the
And
Airshow.
one thing to finish, Tom, it's 2 for 33.
I'm sorry, Nick. We seem to be losing the connection, Nick. I don't know what's happening. It's been perfect. It's been perfect all the way through here. The swords are drawn at the moment. Well done, the Aussies. Good start for them. Well done to you, Nick. Bless you. Thanks so much indeed for your time
Thanks,
this
Randy.
morning, he says, through gritted teeth.